Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Honestly, probably gonna be a short video. We do have a new mechanic though, so we will be talking about that a little bit. But in all honesty, the mechanic is not the most complex. New keyword, in fact. It's called Brash. We'll talk about it once we actually start looking at the images. But yeah, no new champions. But yeah, some new cards, pretty solid spells, some pretty cool units, and a new keyword. And it seems like these cards are meant to be Samira's followers. So we kind of have an idea of what Samira is going to do. So yeah, let's go and look at the cards really quick. So, as you can see, we have quite a few cards here. We have, what I believe, 7 cards. Before we talk about the new cards, let's talk about the new mechanic, because as you can see, one of these cards has a keyword called Brash, and that is a new keyword. So what is Brash? Well, very easy to explain. It's basically just reverse fearsome, where instead of checking for power, attack, whatever you want to call it, it checks health. So, can only be blocked by enemies with 3 or more health. Is this better than fearsome? I wouldn't say Brash is better than fearsome. I wouldn't say Brash is worse than fearsome. I feel like they're just both equally as good. And if you really want to dive into it, you would, of course, like go through, especially a deck that's playing Brash, the deck that's playing fearsome. I'm going to assume Brash is going to be very similar to fearsome and be a very aggressive keyword. If you want to get really gritty and really sweaty, you can go and like go through every single like 1, 2, and even 3 drop and be like, okay, how many of these block Brash, how many of these block fearsome, how many of these are actually played, etc., etc. But I think it's pretty much just as good as fearsome is. Anyway, what are the actual cards that have been revealed today? Well, first off, Pirouette. I like this card. 2 mana slow spell, Plunder, Noxus card as well. First Noxus Plunder spell, I believe, or Plunder card we've ever seen. I don't think there is another Noxus or another Plunder card in Noxus. I believe all Plunder cards have been either Bilgewater. Majority of them have been in Bilgewater, and a handful in Freljord. But what's the card actually do? Well, when you plunder, it costs 1 less. Okay, not that bad, not that great. Deal 1 to anything and stun an enemy. Okay. Slow speed kind of sucks, but honestly, if this wasn't slow speed, this card would be broken. Helps set up Ravenous Flock really well. This card honestly hints to me they're gonna really rotate out Ravenous Flock and Ezreal on top. Or if they don't want to rotate out Ezreal, they're really going to nerf him hard, which I feel like they'd rather just rotate out Ezreal with this card being printed. Because this card is technically targeting 2 units. You can deal 1 to 1 unit and stun a different unit. So no way they let Ezreal, keep Ezreal in standard and let Pirouette be in there. Same with Ravenous Flock. This is just so good at setting up Ravenous Flock. I would be very surprised. It's also pretty good for Tibalt deck, so you know. Annie Katarina, Annie TF. Well, TF is getting rotated, but Annie Katarina as well can still be played instead of TF. So yeah, pretty solid spell. Sets up other things too. So even if Flock gets rotated out, it also sets up Noxian Guillotine, Scorched Earth, Disintegrate. There's some pretty good stuff here with this card. Also, we don't have this card, this character as a card. Seems her name is Elegant Edge. Probably going to be a follower we'll get in the upcoming days, but Red Gwen, basically. She looks like Gwen and she's red, so I wonder if that's a coincidence. It probably is a coincidence, but it's kind of funny how for a long time we had a deck called Red Gwen, and this is basically Red Gwen. Next up, what do we have? Inferno. Okay, what does she actually do? 4 mana, 1/5 elusive. That's kind of an awkward stat line for an elusive, in all honesty. When you activate Plunder, draw 1, give it fleeting. So we know for a fact Twisted Fate is getting rotated. Outside of TF, is there really any other payoff for drawing cards besides, you know, drawing the actual card? I honestly can't think of anything right now. I don't think there's... I mean, I guess there is stuff like Gotcha. Stuff that's, like, really good when you draw it that turn, but... Or some fumes, of course. But nothing on the level of TF and, you know, his level up. Is this card actually good, though? This card's really slow. I'm going to tell you right now, this card is really, really, really slow. Are you really going to... Like, imagine if this card didn't have Elusive. This is a 4-mana 1/5. This is like... I actually don't know if there is a 1/5 in the game. I'm sure there's a 1/5 somewhere, like a non-champion 1/5, because I'm pretty sure there are champions who are 1/5s. Yeah, I don't know. 1/4s have proven to be playable if they have good abilities, like Dawn Speakers and Vagar, of course. Is this on the level of, like, Vagar? I don't know. It's really tough to evaluate. I think a big problem with this is how often are you activating Plunder? Like, how many cards are you playing that Plunder? I don't know, because unless I get, like... I would need 2 cards drawn off of Inferno to be happy. 1 card just so I'm not sad before she dies, and if she dies, then whatever. Because she is really slow, and her stat line is not that good. Doesn't even trade that well because 1 attack is not trading into much. Like, I guess you can trade into 2 ones. Really, I feel like the best thing about Inferno, she is elusive, so that helps you actually get a hit on the Nexus to help activate your other plunders. Next up, Barbed Chain. 4-mana burst spell, Plunder. I cost 2 less. Draw 2 at the next round start and give them fleeting. So it's basically pick a card, except instead of having to put a card back into your deck, you have to plunder to have it be 2 mana. I'm going to be honest with you, I think this card sucks. Unless you have a lot of good plunder synergy, like from Inferno or something, this card kind of sucks. I'd rather just... You're in Bilgewater if you're playing Barbed Chain. I'd much rather just play Eye of Nagakaboros, or I believe the card is called Salvage, the 4-mana toss 2, draw 2, over this card. It feels like most of these plunder cards are going to be going in very aggressive decks, and Eye of Nagakaboros has proven it's pretty solid in aggressive decks in the form of Pirate Burn. So, yeah, I really feel like this just needs to go in a dedicated plunder deck, and there needs to be enough payoff for plundering. And the reason I don't like it in aggressive decks is you have to wait a turn before you actually draw the cards. And if you've played aggressive decks, you know, like, you're just like, I need to kill them this turn. I need to find that Noxian Fervor, that Warning Shot, that Make It Rain, that Decimate, etc., etc. And that's why, if I was to play an aggressive deck, I'd prefer something like Eye of Nagakaboros. Maybe a slower, more mid-range-ish, with a little bit of value in it kind of plunder deck, you know, with things like Pilfered Goods, Merchant, etc., etc. And of course, that's not to mention any kind of plunder synergies, like from Inferno and maybe Samira. Who knows? What do we got next? Father Fury. 2-mana 2/1. Elusive. Okay. Dying to a ping is pretty bad. But things like Vile Feast are getting rotated, so there might not be as many pings that are especially really, really good in auto includes like Vile Feast. But what's it actually do? Plunder. Okay. Refill 1 spell mana and create a random 1-cost spell from your regions in hand. You know what this card reminds me of right away? It reminds me of Burblefish if Burblefish was fair, if that makes sense. And when I say fair, you might be like, well, streamer, Burblefish is a 6-mana card. Of course, but you're usually playing Burblefish when it's 0 mana and then playing a bunch of them, copying them, etc., etc., and killing right away. So yeah, like, you don't have to play too many spells with this guy compared to Burblefish. It also refills spell mana, which is something Burblefish doesn't do. Basically, the guy says, plunder a tune. So that's pretty nice. I like the guy. What deck wants it? I really feel like it's this theoretical plunder, highly synergistic plunder deck that wants this, because random one-cost spells kind of suck, in all honesty. Especially in Bilgewater, you always have the option of rolling Bloodbait, the 1-mana lurk spell. And you never want to hit Bloodbait from Burblefish. Everyone who's played Burblefish is or Coral Creatures even has seen the Bloodbait showing up, and you're just like, well, I guess it's discard fodder to rummage or something. But yeah, overall, I think he's a pretty solid card. Also, really like the artwork and what's going on here. I want to hear the lore on this guy. Give me more lore about him. Why does he only have one arm and it's half metal or something? What do we got next? 3 more cards to go. Daring Demolisher. 2-mana 3/1, play, deal 1 to the enemy nexus. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I would not play a 2-mana 3/1 that says basically ping the enemy nexus when you summon it or play it. What's the other part of it do? Or instead, I can use it to activate an ally's plunder effect. See, now that is where it gets good. I feel like that deal 1 to the enemy nexus is basically tacked on as extra, because in all honesty, that second line of text is what I feel like you want to choose most of the time. I feel like you never want to be using this card to ping the enemy nexus. Yes, I guess you can say, well, you can use it to ping the enemy nexus to activate your other plunder abilities in a tight spot. Of course, of course. But I'd say 9 out of 10 times you want to use this to get another plunder effect, like another merchant effect. This card right here basically is shouting at me and saying, Riptide Rex is getting nerfed. I'd be very surprised if Riptide Rex is still in the game alongside this card. Well, in standard, whatever the format is, rotation format is called. Because it's in Noxus. Noxus Bilgewater. You know what that is? Tibalt. Conservatory. You know, I feel like everyone who's played the game in the past 6 months has seen it at least once. You play Conservatory, you get Tibalt, you play Tibalt, you plunder, you play Riptide Rex. Riptide Rex powered up by Tibalt. Pretty good. Sometimes, though, your opponent somehow lives through that. And then you actually fizzle out because you've run out of gas and you lose the game and your opponent stabilizes. That's where Daring Demolisher would come into play. You play this, get another Riptide Rex powered up by Tibalt trigger. Be very impressed if your opponent could survive that as well. So yeah, I'm gonna just assume this means Riptide Rex is gonna be rotated. But even without Riptide Rex, I think this card is still really good. Being able to get a plunder effect again is really strong. So yeah, there are pretty solid plunder cards out there. There's the Rally guy, who, I don't know, that guy hasn't seen much play, but with rotation might see a little bit more play. Of course, there's Merchant, and much, much more. Next card up. Dame the Despoiler. 3-mana, 3/3. Okay, honestly, not a terrible start, not a terrible stat line. What's she actually do, though? Plunder. Grant all allies +1/+0. So that includes herself. It is a permanent buff as well. This is definitely a card I feel like you want to play before combat. Or maybe you play this right as the turn is about to end. You play this right as your opponent's attacking turn ends, and then you play this, buff your board, and then open attack for a lot of damage. Kind of reminds me of Arena Battlecaster. You mostly saw him in discard aggro, 2-mana 2/2. When he attacks, he gives all other attacking allies +1/+0. But that was only a temporary buff, so I kind of like the card. I'm not really high up on it, but I think it is a solid, decent plunder card. Solid synergy with Daring Demolisher too, so I think it's fine. Depends on like how aggressive and how much like those extra stats matter for these Noxus Bilgewater plunder decks. And our last card for today, the Brash card. 3-mana 3/2. Plunder. Okay. What's it do when it plunders? Summon a 1-cost follower and grant it bash. Kind of like Island Navigator, I'm seeing here. Island Navigator, 4 mana, 2/4. When you summon it, it summons a 1-drop, and and the 1-drop gets Scout. Here's the problem: you have to plunder first. And honestly, most 1-drops are not very aggressive, and Brash is aggressive. But the 3/2, the 3/2 stat line's pretty nice. This card kind of reminds me of Petty Officer, the 3 mana 3/1, I believe. When you play that guy, you can summon a Powder Keg or a random 1-cost follower. So you lose the option to summon a Powder Keg, but you get 1 extra health, you get Brash, and the 1-cost also gets Brash. The downside is you also have to plunder. Am I really gonna play? How many warning shots am I gonna be playing? I don't know. I guess like monkeys are pretty good at triggering plunder as well. So maybe this is like, all this stuff is like monkey buffs as well. So I don't know. I think there's some pretty solid cards here. Nothing too powerful, nothing that, in my opinion, if it was released today in the current game, would see that much play. Maybe Daring Demolisher would. I think Daring Demolisher would see play, and Pirouette, but the other cards I don't think would see play currently. But with rotation happening, who knows? Lots of strong cards are going to be out of the game. Power level will be a little bit lower, so cards like this will probably be solid. Anyway, though, that's it. That's all the revealed cards for today. I don't know what I think about this. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm already coping and being like, maybe there's some kind of plunder control, plunder value, maybe with like Father Fury, maybe a little Daring Demolisher, Inferno giving us some card drop, Pirouette trying to slow our opponent down, Barbed Chain for some value, but honestly, these cards would look very aggressive, and then Dame and Brazen Buccaneer make it look even more aggressive. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on what you guys think about these cards. Do you think they're good? Do you think I'm overrating Pirouette? Do you think I'm being a little too harsh on something like Barbed Chain? I'd just love to hear your opinion on these cards in general. And if you guys just enjoyed the video as well, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. It always helps me and always helps out the channel. Also, if you want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on twitch.tv/Senaton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video, and until I see you guys in the next one, bye!